President Trump escaping yet again after a Georgia prosecutor dropped the final pending criminal case against him. You may remember in 2023, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis brought historic racketeering charges against Donald Trump and 18 others for their alleged attempt to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Willis, of course, was later disqualified. In a court filing today, the new prosecutor said the case is on life support and that the legal challenges would have pushed any chance of a trial far into the next decade. The president, perhaps not surprisingly, taking a victory lap, calling the case an un-American hoax. He also continued to deny the 2020 election results. We have a whole new panel with us now to discuss as we look at where things stand. Brian, I actually want to start with you because I'm just curious about, as we take the temperature in terms of the reaction to this case being dropped, what are you seeing?
Number one, it's a very big deal in Georgia. It's a very big statement about Fani Willis. She has not said a word about this. And I think we're now officially at the point, as of today, we're going to leave it to the historians. Right? The president pardoned all the rioters. The other cases have been dropped. The evidence is mostly out in the open. The other evidence will eventually come out over the years. And now it's up to the historians. You know, the president continues to try to rewrite the January 6th history, but we're not going to see prosecutions. And I think that's going to sink in now that this has officially happened.
And I thought it was interesting that what we saw from the prosecutor, who has a long history, we should point out, this is not someone who's new to the job, basically said, look, this was going to be too tough. It certainly couldn't wait until 2029 when the president was out of office. And also, these shouldn't have been brought as state charges. These should have been more, a federal issue. When you see all of that, when you see the way that it was laid out, what does that tell you about the strength of the case that was initially filed?
I think the case was very strong. And I hear you, Ryan, when you say we have to leave it to the historians. But being a journalist navigating news for 25 years, I got my start at CNN in Atlanta 25 years ago. I wish we could leave it to the journalists because we have him on tape saying, I need you to find me 11,000 votes. That's not gossip. That's not hyperbole. We have it. It's not a political debate or political fodder to present as news. It's actually facts that we should remind the American people of all the time. Furthermore, he led a riot on Capitol Hill to overthrow the elections that he would not accept. He continues to lie to the American people and not accept those election results. So I think it's a sad day because at this point, when you have someone who has been convicted of breaking the law, you kind of have to ask in this environment, what is the law? Yeah. What is the rule?
Well, the lie here is not what Tiffany's saying. The lie here is that
the lie is exactly what I'm saying.
The lie is that it's a crime to actually challenge the election results. You are allowed to. In fact, Peter's, I can't pronounce his Greek name.
Talking
God bless me.
Yes.
Yep, the prosecutor pointed out in his filing that it is not inherently a crime to challenge the results of an election or question the results. You are allowed to do that. In fact, most states have a legal procedure. Having a legal procedure is the opposite of it being illegal. He actually followed the case. The Secretary of State of Georgia is the person, whether you agree with it or not, who investigates fraud in elections. He investigates the results of elections. If the prosecutor felt that this couldn't be done, then I think he made the right choice. But remember, he was also appointed not to take the case on himself. He was supposed to find another prosecutor to take the case. Right. And he could not find a single prosecutor in the state of Georgia that said this was a valid case against the president.
Which is why they didn't clear him. He was in no way exonerated. They ran out of prosecutors who were willing.
When you don't have an indictment,
you ran out of prosecutors who were willing to shepherd this radioactive diaper of a case for the next several years. 4 of Donald Trump's co-defendants pled guilty on this. So this is the first time a guy has gotten away with it because the courthouse got tired of prosecuting. But to Tiffany's point, he's on tape, not saying we have to find out the exact number of votes. He's on tape demanding you find the exact number of votes I need. And people who don't mind seeing cops beaten on the Capitol steps for a lie find this very acceptable.
I do just want to play that moment because for people who don't remember, right? This is that moment on tape that we're talking about. Take a listen.
So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
And he said, as you pointed out, the prosecutor did say, look, that call is concerning, right? Saying people could interpret it different ways. But he is asking for a very specific number of votes in that moment. How does that age?
Well, I think there could have been a thoughtful conversation about whether the president should be speaking this way. And I think it got muddied by the barrage of lawsuits that voters were getting throughout the primary into the presidential election. I was in New Hampshire at the time, and one lawsuit after another. Voters don't have time to break down each lawsuit and the merits of the case, but as the president's telling them, look at everything that they're throwing at me, voters started to buy that. And I saw it flip people towards Trump in real time. And I think the lesson here is that lawfare, especially when it's sloppy, is really politically risky. That's a lesson that Democrats should have learned. I mean, here's Trump in the White House. That's also a lesson that the president, who was the beneficiary of all this lawfare, should be learning himself. I mean, he's had some really big legal losses this week.
He also had a very distinct, and has had for some time, a very distinct, how do I phrase it? Legal approach, if you will,
That's
right?
a very
So what we
diplomatic way
saw,
to put it, yes.
but what we saw consistently, right, as this is coming up during the campaign, and as voters are asking questions about it, what we saw is the president's legal strategy has always been to delay, right? Delay, deflect. And it worked, too, because we do know that part of the process is, hey, I just need to get elected again, and then likely a number of these things will go away.
And that was
they did.
successful. He also turned this one into a soap opera by pointing at Fani Willis and her boyfriend and saying this was all tainted, this was all scandalous. People love that, right? People love when it's big, oh, this is now about sex. It's now about a scandal. And that was a distraction, a very effective distraction for the president.
This guy dodges accountability like he dodges sit-ups. But we should point out that Georgia made a point of saying that he did lose the 2020 election. So even in letting him off the hook, they're acknowledging his years of lies about this.
The fact that the president still says he didn't lose the election, is that ever going to end?
I don't know, but I just want to go back to this whole lawfare idea.
We do know. We do know.
Thank you. We know.
Continue
We
to lie
know. Let's
as often as
deflect.
you can.
Let's lie and deflect all
Going
the
back to
time.
the series of cases that
Facts
resulted
don't matter.
in the president winning re-election in 2024. I mean, it all started with Alvin Bragg. If you remember here in New York, even sitting around, it was probably this
all
very
started with
table,
Trump
right,
committing crimes.
where Alvin Bragg brought an indictment saying Trump was falsifying business records. They had to find the crime he was concealing, and even Bragg's own indictment didn't even include that second
And a grand
crime.
jury saw the evidence and
That is what set the precedent for all the claims of lawfare. Whether any case that came after that was more valid than the next, it didn't matter because the first one out of the box was Alvin Bragg, and it was a complete pile of dog poop.
No,
Again,
the jury
what we
saw
have
the
is the
evidence and
president-
returned a conviction. And
Precisely.
all these lawfare cases are happening because Donald Trump has a penchant for committing crimes.
But there
and
is an
lying about
argument.
it.
If we could just play back history for a second. 2021. If you think back to 2021 and what didn't happen, right? The delays by Merrick Garland, the delays by some of these other prosecutors.
Yeah.
If you imagine a world where in the summer of 2021, there were lawsuits and legal accountability for
Yes.
President Trump in the immediate aftermath of the riot, we'd be living in a very different country today.
I agree with
But
that.
instead,
exactly.
years of delays, and all those delays benefited Trump.
Yeah, they certainly did. I'm seeing a thing in the prompter which makes me think that we're moving on from this one. But don't go anywhere, guys, because we have much more to come. The demolition at the White House on full display. Turns out, though, there's a little bit of a battle going on about just how big the new ballroom should be. Here's a hint. The president would like it to be a little bit bigger.